All right, hello everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of Theorycraft Thursday. I, of course, am Ursinity, and I'm sitting here with my co-host, Proud.
That's correct.
That is correct. All right, you're used to it already by this point, I'm sure. After what would this be like? Our fifth episode together?
Like 73 or
73. That sounds about right.
Close to 73.
We use the classic round up to the nearest 73 rule. And
Right.
yeah, it's kind of like the classic stream rule. You multiply by 1,000.
And then round up to 73.
Exactly. You round somewhere. Anyway, so I've already kind of felt your pain through our previous not recorded conversations. But how has your last week or so in Dota been? Proud? Lay it all out on us.
We went over the kind of losing some 200 MMR, and I'd like to say that trend has not changed. We're down about 700. It's a smooth. Well, at the height of our I guess maybe at the bottom of our abyss of suffering, we were down to minus 700. I don't want to say how far down that went, but it's gonna come back, and everything's gonna be fine. Everything's going to be great. I just need to figure out a hero that can both win every lane for my entire team and hard carry late game. So kind of hard carry late game didn't really work all on its own. Winning every lane didn't really work all on its own. So maybe there's a hero that can do both. And there is, and that hero's name is Shadow Fiend. And he's fucking awful, and fuck that hero, and he's too good, and I hope he gets nerfed. But hopefully there's another one. I'm kind of trying the like Blink Solar Crest Alk, the fighty Alk, instead of the Split Push Alk, and that's going okay. But
Could just play Tusk every game.
Yeah, that's the other option. Yeah,
or
I'm considering. I don't know. There's options, but I'm trying to find something that can just not lose a single game, and that's kind of not. It's not really possible. Turns out.
I generally try not to pick meta stuff. I'm just one of those people. I like to win, but I don't like to spam heroes. I don't like to do meta things per se, unless something comes into meta that I already play. Like Lina mid was in meta, or is kind of still in the meta, but I was playing that before, so I was like, whatever. But Tusk, boy, that hero is ridiculous. I honestly don't know how that hero is like balanced. I mean, obviously he's not balanced, but I don't know how he's like even remotely considered fair.
Yeah.
So that hero, oh god, all right. He's my like. If I were to spam, I've been spamming the hero that we'll be going over later, pretty much. But if I was to spam something for the sake of getting MMR, it would be Tusk. Boy, that hero, he's some. That's the only way to describe him.
He's bullshit.
That is another way to describe him.
Piece of shit. Fucking hate him. He can like. Skywrath was good at TI4 for various reasons. I mean, synergizing with Chrono was cool, but one of the main one is like. You could be basically anywhere on the map and then press W and then mid would be ganked because you're fucking God, I don't even know what that mid is called or that fucking skill is called. It's a fucking uses a bolt. Maybe sure
concussive bolt or
and it's just like you can be like a screen away from someone and then this fucking projectile will run at them and slow them. And Tusk is like the same thing. And he has the same fucking button. You just press W.
Yeah.
Only his W is him. He throws him at you. And it stuns, and it brings the other support with them. And then he blocks your pathing, and then he has a fucking slow that gives high ground vision. So, I mean, it's basically the same fucking hero.
And he can dodge stuff with it. That's by far, like,
my
and
you can dodge, and like, you can fucking, like, oh my god. I've seen people, like, use Snowball at someone who's killing someone, and then you just, like, pick them up in the Snowball. Yeah, like, what the fuck? It's like, and then he also has a BKB piercing disable. Like, let's just give that to another hero. And then he blocks pathing. Like, what?
It's like if you take all of like the good things of a bunch of different heroes and you combine them into one, and then you give him great stat growth and the ability to go to literally every lane, and he has no like required items, so he can do whatever. Like some games, it's like, oh hey, we need Greaves. We have a Tusk, just buy Greaves. We need X. We need whatever. The hero's ridiculous, honestly. Like
like he's that bullshit. And then you're like, well, okay, but like like Black Hole's bullshit. Ravage is bullshit. But he's got like 140-second cooldown. But Tusk has a 20-second cooldown on everything. Literally every fucking spell. It's like, well, 20 seconds is enough for a fucking 350% crit that disables for 1.5 seconds through BKB. That's fine. Yeah. Fucking block pathing every. Oh god, like.
And Jesus it doesn't get blocked by Lincolns. It's And I don't, and it doesn't go backwards on Lotus Orb too, because technically it's a what's called orb
Just
effect.
picturing that would be great. Just
It's
fucking
just
punching yourself in the face.
yeah, yeah. Um,
I want fan art of that.
but at least like his kick is garbage, right?
Yeah,
Right?
at least there's one item progression that no one goes that
Yeah,
isn't viable.
yeah. Imagine, oh my god, he's like somebody called him the discount Earth Spirit. I don't know if I just like hallucinated that sentence but I'm pretty sure I've heard it somewhere because it's like he just does so much at such a low level. Like at level 3, generally people don't get sigil at level 3, but theoretically, let's say you do.
Yeah.
At level 3, you have a sigil that takes like 3 hits to kill, and it
That
slows
slows your attack speed.
so it's
It's
attack speed
impossible to
and
kill.
move speed,
Yeah.
and it has flying vision, and it has flying pathing. And then you have snowball. Of course, you can remove people from the map for 3 whole seconds. You can initiate with as many people as you want, and it does a full stun. Granted, not a super long stun, but a stun is a stun.
Enough of a
And it
setup
does
for a fucking
damage,
Lena.
and it does damage to everyone it goes through, in addition to the target. And then
It
on
stuns you who goes
Q is
through.
basically like the spammable, uh, spammable smaller version of Fissure.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and it lasts for like what, like 7 or 8 seconds? It's something obscene like that. That it's just, a hero does so much, and that's why people complain about Earth Spirit, and that's the problem that I have with Tusk. But
At least I can buy a BKB and then Earth Spirit doesn't matter. I can't BKB through my path getting blocked and then getting punched in the dick.
yeah, they've nerfed Earth Spirit so much. Like now you can purge his ult. It's pretty significant. I mean, I don't know. I mean, we definitely know, like, it's been pretty publicly said that the patch is coming out within the next week. Ice
Thank
Frog said
God.
this weekend, and there's no way
Well,
Tusk is
really?
way unscathed. Yeah, but
I wasn't hyped to that. So
Oh.
I'm very happy that the show came out to let me know my own Dota news that I
Yep.
didn't know.
Yep, and I mean, just a lot of stuff, a lot of excitement. I'm really hyped for the new patch. I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
doing a full theory crafting episode on the patch.
We should just, like, the second it drops, just, like, record and put something out regardless of what day it is.
That
'Cause
is,
I'm going to do that anyway, just so you know. So
oh, that is certainly an option.
that's what we're going to do. It's not an option, Sam. Or
Yeah.
whatever.
Oh my god! All right, well, we can have a discussion.
I mean, we're done with school. We're done with school. This is, if it pops up, we fucking hop on Skype. I mean, I'm going to be talking to you about it anyways, so.
That's true. Yeah, we could do one of the like Owie Cinderin style 4 hour long replay patch analysis things, and then we'll put an abridged episode out for an actual episode. But
That
anyway,
sounds good. Let's do our planning on air right now.
yeah. Well, you started it, so
It's fair.
all right. So again, that's exciting. Everybody loves patch time. It's like Christmas, although this time it'll actually be close to Christmas. I'd say it's better than Christmas, but hey, that's just me.
Yeah, I'm going to be, yeah, I'd agree.
I am quite hyped for that, and yeah, I mean, my week in Dota recently has been decent for what I've been able to play. This has been crunch time for me,
Yeah.
finishing research papers, finishing my thesis, doing presentations. So I only played like 5 or 6 games. I've been winning a lot actually recently. I've been doing pretty well.
Yeah, it must be nice.
Yeah, I think actually I was on like I did have a 5 game losing streak, but now I'm on a 4 game winning streak. So hopefully we can continue that later tonight. Um, but yeah, so I mean, today's episode, we kind of announced half of it last week. If you listen to last week's Theorycraft Thursday, which I'm sure you did, and we're going to be running. More importantly, I'm going to be playing support Kunkka, who is my boy. It's my newfound love. Like everybody knows, I love Invoker. That's a classic. I love playing Carry Naga. I have certain heroes I just even when they're not good, I still play them. But Kunkka is where it's at. That hero is so much fun. And like normally everybody knows like, oh, you play the mid Kunkka, you go crits, you go this and that. But I've been playing this support Kunkka. I've even been admitting it a bit, but I mostly support because nobody ever plays support. And you run like a greedy 4, and then you go like Torrent, XX, and then you max Torrent and X alternatively. And once you have level 3 X, then you can perfectly boat. Well, I mean, if you get the timing right, you can perfectly X mark spot, boat, Torrent people. It's so much fun. It's so satisfying. I love the hero. And what will you be running with my hopefully
Wait, so
showstopper?
do you play Kunkka as a 5 then?
If I
Support
have
Kunkka as a
to,
5? Okay.
if I
Because you
have
said
to.
with the greedy four, so like I assume you're not
Ideally,
counting yourself as the greedy four.
oh no, ideally I play as the greedy four, but I
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
also on occasion. I mean, like, so usually I'll first pick it just because, or I mean, I don't first pick it on purpose, but I if it's ranked, I
Support
will
them.
first pick just because nobody ever wants to first pick.
Yeah.
Except the other day, a guy actually picked Kunkka in a game I was playing, and I was like, dude, nobody plays this hero except for me and Attacker.
Did you
And
report him?
no, he was a really nice guy. Actually, he was a really good
Uh,
Kunkka. He had actually been spamming Kunkka. He played offlane Kunkka, like solo
yeah, I've seen that.
offlane. It was weird. But yeah, I've just been playing it, and it's I like I said, ideally I go greedy, but more often than not, just because of the nature of pub games, I end up playing the 5 role. Because, and we've had this conversation privately, but we should probably have it publicly. And our grievances on people who jungle, because I don't know how it is in other brackets right now, but you and I can both confirm that right now in early to mid 4K, it is junglers, and then more junglers, and then another jungler, and then even in unranked games, I have junglers, and they all suck, and it's all awful. And I
Well,
did
it's
not want to
like
see any more junglers.
you only have 3 lanes where you can put a core player, but you have 5 people who want to be core players, so they just have
Yeah,
to invent another lane that can support a core.
that's literally all it is. People are like, I don't want to play support, but people already locked mid and safe lane, so I'm gonna just play jungle Legion Commander or Cliff Jungle Nature's Prophet or whatever. There's actually, I say this uh, very sparingly, but there was actually a pretty entertaining Reddit thread today about the disgusting prevalence of junglers, and jungle is just so. I feel like jungle's in a really bad place right now, meta wise.
Yeah, well, the last patch like kind of fucking eviscerated it. Like it's just not. They shit on jungle camp experience and gold, and it was already like, oh, we have a jungler. Can we support this? No, but we're gonna do it anyway.
Yeah, we're
But
gonna
like now,
try.
it's just like, right, okay. Instead of like some shit worthless jungler who gets like an 8 minute Midas, now they get a 9 minute Midas. It's like, okay, you spend
Yeah,
9 minutes to sacrifice your mid game. Thank you for that
yeah.
Midas.
It's just one of those things where like I hate stacking. Not like that I hate doing it. I hate that it's a mechanic that is abused to the point that it is currently abused at, right? Like I like the idea of stacking. I like making a triple stack or like the support you're not doing much in lane, you hang out, you go and you stack for your carry. That's fine. But I dislike the incredible emphasis there is right now on stacking and that it's basically a requirement. Like
Yep.
nowadays all the meta, not all the meta, but most of the meta mids, your Quaps, your Shadow Fiends, your
Alp,
Wind Rangers,
especially.
yeah, Alk, definitely. You push the lane in, and then you go back and you stack, and then it doesn't matter how much you win lane against these people. They go back, especially if they're Radiant and they have the impossible to aggress on Radiant hard camp by Radiant tier 2, and they just take stacks and then they're back in the game. And I really dislike the mechanic, and I can't wait for it to get nerfed. They already nerfed ancient stacking a while ago, and I
Yeah.
hope they do something similar because somebody suggested that they give creeps like like a
Magic
magic resist
reduction or yeah.
that is additive based on the amount of creeps in the camp.
Yeah.
So like it wouldn't be bad for junglers. Like the difficult thing
I
and
don't know.
the difficult thing right now is to balance it so that junglers are viable. Although in my opinion, I'd be kind of happy if junglers were not viable at all. But the idea, Ice Frog wise, would be patch it so that jungling is still viable if you want to jungle your whatever, but stacking is still nerfed to the point that it's not ridiculous. And even junglers stack now. Like Legion Commander, she makes some huge stack, and then when she has level 5 and 3 levels in overwhelming odds, she just punches the thing down. And it's just I really don't like that mechanic. We had a really entertaining Reddit thread on in the Doppy subreddit r/defense of the patients, and we discussed what we wanted to see in the next patch, which we'll be seeing soon. And that was one of my big things. I laid out. I had a lot of gripes. I had like 15 points or something, but that's my big one. And I want that in this patch too. But it is what it is. Can't always get what we want.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about the stacking. Like, I definitely hate that. Like if you have a jungler and you're doing bad mid, like you have no options. If you don't have a jungler, you can just like stack. But I don't know. Like I had a prophet and he kept jungling the camp near the tier 2, and I'm alchemist, and I'm like, what do you expect me to do with my life if I can't
Yeah.
stack this camp? Like you keep like this is my like that's me. That's my place. That's my safe space to be an alchemist. You can't take that away from me. But yeah, I don't know. Like I think the stacking magic reduction aura is kind of like a I don't know. It's like a really it's like the only like obvious fix, but it's
Mhm.
also just not a good one. You know, like
Yeah, I
it's just
agree.
so like things take too much magic damage, therefore reduce their magic damage. It's just there has to be something else. I'm not ice frog enough to see it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, like you said, there's a lot of simple solutions, like maybe cap camps at 3 stacks, and there are already some like kind of weird caps on things because like different camps have different sizes and you can only go so far. But it is just I don't know. I'm stacking is not like I like the idea that mid lane used to be a 1v1 and like if you lost mid like you just like you had to come
It
back
was
in a different
bad.
lane. But
Yeah,
nowadays it's like, oh, I lost mid, it's fine, I have stacks.
yeah,
Or also like as a support player generally, now I'm expected to be stacking and like when I'm playing a 5 slot and we have a jungler and they're running some aggressive duo lane as always or is like some cancerous like brood mother or darkseer and then the mid's like, "Hey, dude, where's my stacks?" I'm like, "Yo, make your own." We that sounds like a personal problem, buddy. But I don't know. I've played around with Kunkka stacking. You can do the torrent stack. Well, that's not necessarily what I'm talking about. You can stack with
yeah.
torrent at like it's like if you queue the torrent up at like
50 or
57 and a
something. Yeah.
half. But some Kunkka players I've
Oh
seen.
yeah. I mean to like knock them in the air. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it's you can do the same thing on Invoker, although the timing's a little different.
Yeah,
Um, but basically, the idea behind that is that it pushes them so far above the camp that they're outside of the box,
yeah.
because the box is more like a cube. But what was the point I was making? Oh, some people they play Kunkka core and support, and what they'll do is they'll like hit 6 and they'll take a stack with like a boat torrent combo.
Yeah. It
Um,
doesn't have the longest cooldown, so it's viable to use your ulti
it's
on that.
Yeah, it's weird because it doesn't do as much damage to kill some of the like really tanky creeps, but it's definitely it's fine. I toyed with the idea of Earthshaker stacking and taking Earthshaker stacks by like you hit level 6 and like unless a fight is coming up, you
Yeah,
just
you
go
just
in
echo.
and just echo echo the entire thing for
Yeah,
fast
sure.
blink. But it's kind of like the poor man's Sand King, I suppose. But,
Yeah, I
but
can see
anyway,
it.
so what are you gonna be running with my support Kunkka? And again, I'll probably
Um,
be doing this in off lane duo, just because this is not like
yeah.
this would not be as viable in a safe lane situation.
So in the spirit of trying to synergize with you, I don't think there's anything explicitly wrong with support Kunkka. I just can't really think of anything that like synergizes with it. Because when I think of like Kunkka and Lina, you're like, oh, what synergizes with it? Oh, maybe like some kind of setup. But you normally don't. Yeah, cores don't normally set up for supports. It's normally supports that set up for cores. So it's not the easiest hero in the world to find like a duo to synergize with, but I figured Quap was pretty decent. If you're doing anything at any point, I can just kind of blink over and give you that extra oomph you need to finish the kill off. And Quap also is a hero that if any hero is at 75%, she can get the kill themselves or herself. So if you
That's
have any
true.
kind of setup, I can Sonic Wave on top of it. I can blink into any kill you're doing and press E and secure it. So kind of if you're roaming around the map making shit happen, I can make sure I'm kind of always there to ensure that shit does actually happen.
Yeah, I think the success I've had with Kunkka support has largely been in playing against heroes, not necessarily with heroes.
Uh huh.
So one of the big reasons I started playing Kunkka support is I've always liked Kunkka, and I think he's a really novel hero. Like not a lot of people do what he does um, in such an interesting dynamic way. It's really satisfying to land a good X marks torrent boat combo. But the big reason I've been picking him so much is that people have been playing these highly mobile heroes like Ember Spirit and Quap and other Blink heroes.
Yeah.
So I just walk in and I X marks them, and then they're not used to playing against Kunkka generally, so they try to blink away, and then they blink away, and then I hit them with a torrent because if you once you learn the timing, you can guarantee torrents and boats,
Sure.
and it's just really effective, but mostly against the Ember Spirit players because I've been seeing that hero so much, as I'm sure everybody has. Um, but so I also think a lot that Kunkka is weak in a lot of. I wouldn't say he's weak per se, but his weakness is that until level 2 X marks, until you have level 2 X marks, the range on X is so garbage at level 1, it's like barely worth
Yeah.
using.
So you can get level starved pretty easily in a lot of laning contexts.
Yeah, and generally, like once I'm level 2, it's fine. I mean, once I'm level 3, it's fine. But getting to level 3 can be a little rough sometimes because off the top of my head, I believe it's 400 range on X marks a spot at level 1. And 400 range is awful. It's like absolute garbage. And so it is. You have to like smoke around on somebody, or you
Yeah.
have to like get in from fog. And sometimes it works, to be fair, and other times it doesn't. And if you have boots before other people do, sometimes I've been lucky enough to like the other support will buy all this stuff, so I can go like boots, clarity, tango.
Sure.
But generally, he's not the fastest hero, so I imagine he'll be buffed next patch, and I look forward to it in whatever
Yeah.
way. I don't think he's like weak per se, so I think any buff is going to be an acceptable buff and an enjoyed buff, unless it's some kind of like change. Um, like some people have said they want like full, what's called like a retooling of
An
certain
overhaul.
heroes. Yeah, people have been saying that with the
Yeah.
Lone Druid actually. I don't know if you've caught any
Fuck
of those
you.
comments, but people have been saying that like
Great.
the hero's been weak for so long and it's so hard to buff him
It's
that
not hard. They just haven't. You only. Oh, I don't. Okay, that's fine. Go on.
yeah. But I mean, there are certain heroes that people are like, oh, and they
I'm
need like to
upset.
be retooled. But really, I think um, some of his core weaknesses as support are just the simple fact that he's a melee support, and melee supports in general are just not favored because they can't zone. So that's why you don't see like people like Omni Knight. Omni Knight has some ridiculous win rate in pub games. He's an incredibly good hero, and his counters aren't that significant or
Yeah.
popular. But he is not picked widely because he cannot zone an enemy carry, and I mean he has some other problems, but that's the big one.
Can't zone, can't gank, etc., etc.
Yeah, and so if the meta shifts, then that would favor. Although I mean, the meta is never going to shift enough that you can zone somebody effectively with a melee hero. But
Well, I mean, the one thing with Kunkka is, I mean, your W can like almost zone someone at the expense of
pushing
all of
the
your
wave,
lane equilibrium. Yeah.
yeah. It's. I mean, like again, like I love the hero. I have a ton of fun playing him, and I don't think he's weak, but I definitely think like he has some weaknesses that are at times very evident. And I mean, I forget if I said this in the show or beforehand, but I have a pretty good win rate on support Kunkka, and I generally manage to be pretty greedy. And even when I used to play core Kunkka, I used to play. I started off with like the basic like Shadowblade crit builds, and that's still very popular. People have been going Armlet, and that build's super cool. I don't play it that much, but they buy the Armlet and they only ever toggle it just right before you hit your Tidebringer, and then you just take it off. Like
Oh, that's interesting.
yeah, and it just adds so much damage
That's
between
like
the
what,
strength.
50 damage or something?
Yeah, it's 50
No, when
damage.
it's turned on, it's like 80. Oh,
It's 50
fucking.
damage, and then there's some strength to it. And then, of course, you have the additional, the base stats. Attacker made that popular because Attacker is like the Kunkka god.
Yeah.
But he never plays support, so I haven't been able to watch a lot of support Kunkka games because it's a really interesting hero. I know Chuan plays it, or he used to play it for IG. But yeah, so I've just been having a lot of fun. It's one of those things where like I never really get bored of Dota, but every once in a while I find something, and it's just so much fun, and I'm just like, boy, this
Yeah.
is why I like to play Dota. And I Kunkka is one of those heroes where like every game I play him, I feel like I learn something new, or I get noticeably better with him. It's kind of like Invoker. That's why I like Invoker so much. It's like every time I play him, I have clear, appreciable gains, and I'm like, hey, this was fun. Even if I lost, it's like, hey, I landed a bunch of cool boats, so whatever, it's worth it. Plus, he has cool cosmetics, so I mean, can't go wrong with a hero with cool cosmetics.
That's true.
But yeah. Oh, so what? Before I got off on that tangent, the build I will be going is a high mobility build. Generally, what I do is I will go either. Normally, it'll be Tranquil's Soul Ring. Other times, if I can afford it, I'll go Tread's Bottle. It really depends on how
Cool.
well the first few ganks go. And then right after that, I'll get a wand depending on the game. Generally, I'll buy a wand actually. But then like my first big ticket item is always either a force staff or a blink dagger, depending on ideally it's a blink, and if I can't afford a blink, I'll buy a force. And then if I buy whichever one I buy first, I buy the other second. And you do the classic blink dagger. Either you blink in and X someone, or you X yourself. You blink, you hit a creep wave with Tidebringer,
and then you just get the fuck out.
I mean, that's more of like the crit build that you do that.
Yeah.
Because I still go blink when I do like core Kunkka builds, but it's just super fun. Like honestly, I would say it's hard, but like, and it's hard to get used to. But once you're used to it, it's a really good time. And
on the topic of not going phase on Kunkka, can we just agree that phase boots are out? Like, I feel like it's
Just
like a
in general?
fashion thing. Like, just like phase boots are out this season.
Yeah.
You just like if Ember doesn't go phase boots, TA doesn't go phase boots. Like attack speed's good. Phase boots are just like they're not like that's where they got buff last patch because they're just not there.
And like
it's cool on like Juggernaut and Gyro, but that's it. Like anyone else, just stop.
even
Phase
Invoker.
boots are done.
Invoker's like one of those classic phase boots heroes, and I've been straying from the phase boots path. I still get it. It depends on the game, but I've been going treads a lot on him just because I find in the current like meta game, there's just so many nuking heroes, and I'm like, hey, I could have an extra, whatever it is, 8 times 19, another
It's like
basically
783.
yeah, yeah. I could have all that extra health, whatever it is, 175 health, let's say, or I could have a tiny bit of move speed. It's like it's such a no-brainer. That I have been going treads a lot. Phase on Kunkka is okay, but it really is like he has big int problems.
Yeah.
So a lot of times I'll do it just for the int. If I'm playing mid or support.
The thing that I always think of is like the 24 damage from phase boots is cute, but like in 5 minutes or 7 minutes, that extra damage is not game breaking anymore. But like the attack speed and the tread switching from treads is like that's
always
good
relevant
throughout the entire game. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely
25 free attack speed, pretty good.
I like to get
It's
some
not free, but
Well, yeah, also Manos. I do like to, if I can get away with it, sometimes I'll just go brown boots, like brown boots bottle, and then I'll get early travels. But
I see
that's
a lot of
really
people going brown boots.
Brown boots are like, I feel like it's a very common notion / misconception that people think like, hey, I bought boots, so I gotta upgrade them because that's the thing to do. I need stats, and upgrading boots is a good way to get stats. And very often that is not. I mean, very often that is the case, but also like that's not a mentality to keep all the time. I guess there's definitely a better way to word that, but I don't know. I've been keeping brown boots more often recently, although generally I still do like upgrade boots because I mean it's just like I don't know. I always find myself starved for slots, especially on supports. So like I could just upgrade boots and that's easy stats or easy mana boots or easy whatever. Compared to like if you have brown boots drums, well that's a bad example because drums are actually like a lot of money. But like if you have like a brown boot tequila, I'd rather have like just treads if I'm a support. I'm trying to think of like a good example here because you never get an Aquila on a support, but I got nothing. Anyway, what are we looking? Oh, Venge, perfect. So, considering that we're going to be running this likely in the off lane because it's not very greedy, so it's not something you'd see in the safe lane.
Yeah, so it'll probably be an off lane co-op, just in the spirit of also because you said your key or your X has like a short range. I figure like if I'm level 2 and you're level 2 and I get a Shadow Strike off or whatever, like you'll probably be able to get in range for an X or even just not need the X at all.
Yeah, and once I have the X on them, we can actually do some significant damage.
And do some right clicks, and then they walk away, and then we put them back and stun them and do some more right clicks. Easy.
Yeah, and I mean you have low cooldown on your abilities too, so like there's potential of you to get like two screams off.
Yeah. I think it's decent.
Yeah. I mean Kunkka has some classic combinations, kind of like Shadow Demon combinations, where like I think of like I've played Kunkka Marana before or Kunkka Lina, stuff like that, where like you X marks. And then you line up a torrent and you line up a light strike array or an arrow or whatever at the same time. But yeah, so I mean we have some kind of like side synergy, I'd say almost. It's kind of just like, hey, we like these two heroes, they're both good. They don't like work badly with each other.
Our fail
So
point is going to be my co-op because it's not fantastic. So we'll see.
yeah, we will see. I did not play Quap either. Quap's one of those heroes where like I can play it, but as a compared to my other mids, she's one of my worst ones. Um, and she's just not that interesting to me. I don't know why. Like people really like that hero. I know our good friend Scrunk, he's a wild Quap player. But,
There's like a 4.5k co-op spammer who just made a video about her that was actually like sick cool, just kind of talking about
yeah.
all the subtleties between like doing attack animations in between like spells and like the exact order of spells you want to cast to get the most efficiency out of like getting like 5 auto attacks and not missing a beat on like getting all your spells out as fast as possible. It was really cool. I'll probably link it to you sometime. And it's good. Made me like appreciate the hero again. I was like, shit. He's like doing a combo on like a creep and messing it up because it's so fucking airtight. And I'm like, holy fuck, this is cool.
Yeah, I always appreciate, even if like that guy's like 4.5k, so he's give or take around our skill level. But whenever you have somebody that like just plays one hero.
Oh, sorry, 5.4. Yeah, he's.
Oh,
he's
okay, 5.4. Yeah, I think he said 4.5, but
I may have.
Either way, like it's not like one of these like 6k, 7k people that's like just on such a completely different skill level.
Yeah.
But I always appreciate videos or playing games with people that like they just are so they either they main one hero or they just like think so deeply about a hero, kind of like you with Lone Druid, but even to like I imagine this guy even to a horror example of him and Quap, and it's just a really cool dynamic to like talk about. Like I remember this person I played with. He is I can't remember his name. His name is Laguna Queen, and he just plays Lena. And he's like 3,000 Lena games, and he's 5K, and it's just like a really weird and interesting experience to play with somebody that like thinks really deeply about one hero. So yeah, I mean that's one thing about. Maybe I'll become that with Kunkka. It'll take forever for him to become in my most played over Invoker. I'd have to like play 500% of my current Kunkka games to scrape the bottom of my Invoker games, but
that's I want to talk a little bit about people who like main certain heroes because that's always kind of frowned upon and that sort of thing. But like through playing,
I frown upon it.
Yeah, like through getting good at like Lone Druid, like there are certain things I know when I'm playing Lone Druid. Like I know exactly where my item timing should be, and like I can look at my CS and my gold and know exactly what my GPM is and know exactly where I stand like at any point. And like I have all these like different builds, and I can look at one thing and I need to make such and such variation. But like for no other hero can I go that in depth. And I'm like, is this just because Lone Druid is so fucking weird that he has all these intricacies, or am I just like a really shit PA? Like which of these two? I don't know. I've never been able to tell really. Like there are a few other heroes where I could really tell like where I am. I mean like Tiny a little bit at this point, but I don't know. It's weird. Hero spamming is interesting, but you just at some point you have to be like, okay, I've hero spammed enough to know that this is how good you can get at Dota with a hero. Time to do something else.
Yeah,
it's definitely good to do to an extent.
I agree completely. I think there's like a fine line between like spamming and it being really productive, and then spamming to the point that like you inflate your skill or you inflate like your MMR or you inflate your ego, and you think like, boy, like I am a 5.4k Quap. That's awesome. Again, I have no clue if this guy is just a good Quap or if he only plays Quap. But let's just say he only plays Quap as like, great, he's a 5.4k Quap. But that probably means that if he randoms and he has to play Bane. Yeah, exactly. And it's like, well, what the heck is he going to do? I think like thinking about you and you're talking about like, oh, I know like the exact timings of stuff. And I can estimate how I'm doing on Lone Druid. I think there are very few heroes I can say I do that as well. I think Invoker I definitely do that on, and like if somebody else is playing Invoker, I can just look and see like, all right, he did X amount of damage. His build probably right now is like 5 Wex, 3 Quas instead of whatever. Yeah. You can kind of approximate those things. I could do that on Naga. Naga, I have a very good understanding internally of like how well I'm doing. And like what I need to be doing differently if things are going poorly, or also similarly I can approximate like if there's an enemy Naga and like generally the game has been going this way, so she's gonna have a 20-minute radiance or she's gonna have a 16-minute radiance, stuff like that. I'm not quite at that level with Kunkka, because the games vary so greatly, especially playing support.
Yeah, as a support, yeah, it's not really.
It's like
It can't really come down to that.
Yeah, some games it's 12 minutes. You have like, oh, I go Midas a lot on Kunkka because I'm just like a Midas player.
Okay.
When I play supports, I very very rarely go Midas on cores, but I love support.
Probably just because
Midas.
it's bad, but you know.
Yeah, well, I would agree completely. I love Midas on cores because it lets me transition into Midas on supports because it lets me transition into a core, whereas a lot of people have that problem.
Yeah.
And this is a tangent we don't necessarily need to get into before we run long, but the Midas on supports is good. Like some supports, you do it just because you need the XP, like a CM, and then other supports you do it because you're like, hey, if I go Midas on Kunkka, no matter how bad this is going to go, I'm going to have a reasonably timed blink, and I'm going to have level 16 boat and much faster than I would otherwise. So it's always a good time. But yeah, so
Can I say before I forget, because I need this to happen worldwide, if you're playing CM, do not get more than 1 point in your aura before your nukes are maxed. Your nukes are maxed. Having relevant spells is a lot more important than giving someone 0.5 mana regen that they didn't need. Get your spells.
I agree completely.
Thank you. Just want that to be public.
Well, we should have like there's no catchy name for it. We should have like a .psa every Theorycrafting Thursday.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Fucking get your goddamn spells.
So we kind of skipped the state of affairs bit, although we incorporated other things. But I want to make sure we get it done. We already went over yours. You're losing MMR. You're
shit.
You're like
shit.
You're like
awful.
A pipe that has burst, and like minus 25s are just pouring out.
Yep.
So I am sitting. I've played, like I said, I think I only played one game of each type of ranked until tonight. So maybe it'll go up or down. I am sitting at 42.61 solo and 43.52 on party. So basically what I had last week, and we already talked about what we've been playing. So yeah, I mean, any closing notes before we jump into the game?
I hope my terrible curse does not extend to you.
Yeah. Well, has it only been in solo, or have you also been losing in ranked?
Party, you mean?
Oh yeah.
I've been trying to get my solo back, so party hasn't been a factor.
Okay. All right. Well, then you can break the curse. I mean, there's the classic quote: "After every losing streak comes a winning streak."
Yeah, that was Socrates, right?
Yeah, totally. And he said that right before groping a bunch of children. But
yeah, okay. Well, that was a good turn that the show took.
That's your history lesson for the day. Socrates, probably a pedophile. Anyway, we're going to go into the game now. Of course, I will be recording the game and our Skype conversation during the game, so you can watch that on .ptv1, our YouTube channel. And so we will go play that, and I look forward to seeing you after the break.
I don't.
Alright, hello everyone and welcome to the second portion, of course, of Theorycraft Thursday. We're back. We just finished our game, for better or worse, and it was a loss, not gonna lie. It did not go perfectly.
That's what happened.
It was some. We got Huskard, although the Huskard wasn't like super dominant. It was mostly we got Night Stalkered, and we also got Juggernauted, because our Juggernaut was awful. And
he was definitely suboptimal. It's true.
Yeah, and then he just gave up. His ending items were a Blink Dagger, and that's it. Like no boots.
Why do you need boots if you can teleport? Right? It doesn't really make sense.
Exactly. But yeah, so I would say I was pretty happy with how like my Kunkka play went, and I know. How do you feel about your Quap play?
My quad play was super shit, and then I learned how to play the hero midway into the game.
Mm-hmm.
I think I have maybe about two hours total playing this hero before this game. So going up to about 2 hours and 20 minutes, I think was the hump when I learned how to play it. So I actually like casted a Sonic Wave and then canceled it at the end there because I knew it wasn't going to hit, which was an improvement.
Yeah.
I did super shit at the beginning, honestly, but then I got I got it
Recipe
together, and I
better.
feel pretty good about the hero. Yeah,
Yep.
going Yules against their Silencer Night Stalker was definitely the way to go. There are a lot of times where I would have just been dead, but just Yulesed up and blinked out, and it was fine.
Yeah, so just to go over the teams real quick, it was Silencer, Huskar. Well, I guess I'll go with lanes too. It was a Night Stalker, Silencer off lane. The Night Stalker mostly roamed, of course. Huskar mid, and then AM Lena safe lane, and Alina roamed a lot. And then on our team, we had a Juggernaut safe lane, Wind Ranger mid, Ancient Apparition who roamed but was mostly top, and then of course Kunkka Quap bottom. We were the Dire, so off lane. And we got like 4 kills at Rune, and I was like, typical thing. I jinxed us. I was like, yo, we won. There's no way we lose this game, and then we lost. But we had a really good Rune fight where generally I get Torrent first, but this is one of those times where it's really good if you don't level skills at Rune or before Rune, because I got X marks, and with X marks we guaranteed a chilling touch on the Huskar. First blood the Huskar, and then we killed everybody else. We killed everybody except the Silencer, I believe. There's somebody that got away.
Yeah.
Because whoever on their team went to top Rune, I think it was Silencer. But it was a great Rune fight, and I mean, I've never played AA Kunkka as a support duo, but it went really well actually. Being able to guarantee cold feet is pretty sick. But I mean, again, the game kind of fell out of control because there's only so much we could do to contest an AM, and then the Night Stalker just like he had his way with us. I think that's the way I would put it. It was brutal in the early
he
game.
killed safe lane a couple times. It was just
He killed
fun
Zayflin
time.
a couple times. Excuse me. He ganked mid. I think he probably ganked you. I know I died to him. It's just rough. That hero is so good. The thing that really gets me about him is that
Wow.
he has so much regen. Like, he has, 4 regen, like 4 base regen before any items. And he does a lot of physical
Is it that
damage.
high? That's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at the log here. Yeah, before 6 minutes, like in the 2 minutes within the first night, he kills Juggernaut, Wind Ranger, and then Juggernaut again. Like in 3 minutes. Like they're down 0-6 or something at this point, and then he just fucking like kills mid and our safe lane carry, who's been doing great twice, and then it just goes downhill from there.
Yeah, downhill is definitely the way. Like, So, landing as an AM, I think we did pretty fine. We killed AM once. He killed one of us, or both of us, when Knights... I think he killed you when...
he
who was
me.
it? We
We were
aggressed...
killing Lena, and
Yeah.
then she like jumps down and stuns us, and AM like gets some auto attacks off, and I don't have mana for a blink, and I don't mango in time to get out, and it's very sad.
Yeah, but overall, I think like our lane went pretty fine, and then until like the Night Stalker roaming happened, because then when Night Stalkers are roaming, then I had to like counter roam, and I had to help the mid lane because he kept ganking the Wind Ranger, and then as things just continued, it just went farther and farther downhill, and like Quap versus AM isn't the worst matchup in like the really early laning phase,
Yeah.
but as it progresses, it gets progressively worse for the Quap.
Once Anti-Mage has headdress and Ring of Health, there's no amount of aggressing I can do onto him, because if I trade last hits with him, trade anything with him, he can just like blink on me and burn my mana, and then I lose.
Yeah, he did one of these fighting builds where like he leveled mana break extra, and that really hurt, and that was unexpected. And then once like Silencer came online, I talked about it in the VOD, but offlane Silencer, the thing I've been seeing recently, and I don't like it, but it's one of these like weird greedy offlanes where like it kind of works sometimes, and the big reason, because I've played support against it, I haven't actually played offlane Silencer, but the thing I run into. Well, I guess was the thing I run into when as a support is I run into the pure damage from glaives, and like how are you going to zone a guy when he's doing pure damage to you with glaives? It's the same idea where like that's why Silencer's such a good lane support, because you can zone people with glaives. But similarly, like he's actually not the worst off lane, because unless they have like stuns and CC and kill potential, they can't zone you. What are they going to do? They're going to punch you, and you're going to punch them back.
It just kind of goes with the meta of like people are running a lot more dual lanes and they're giving support mid, so safe lanes are like less safe.
Yeah.
So you normally like only really have to contend with one offlaner. Like if you have a tri lane and you're a Silencer, you're fucking done.
Yeah.
But like I don't know, the meta of kind of like offlaners like Darkseer are sort of common, where it's like not even really worth tri-laning against them super hard outside of the first like minute. So it's like if they pick one way that if they assume you have a really good offlaner and they don't do anything to kind of like contest it, that opens you to just play a weaker offlaner. But none of that really matters when you have a fucking Night Stalker who gets like 3 kills on your safe lane core in your mid at 6 minutes. You can run him whatever you want.
Yeah, it was just brutal. Like they just had this really aggressive duo of like Night Stalker Huskar, and we did pretty well against the Huskar in like the early to mid game. But eventually, like our Wind Ranger didn't get like she didn't do terribly, but she didn't get as far ahead as we needed her to be to equal out how far behind the Juggernaut would be.
Yeah.
Was rather. I think that's the way I would word it. Yeah.
He was probably doing fine. It's just getting killed by the Night Stalker, like, definitely put her back really far. Because that happens, and then, like, 2 minutes later, then Huskar aggresses on her and kills her. And it's like, yeah, if you die once and you're against, like, if you have a disadvantage against a Huskar, you lose. That's just kind of how it is.
Yeah, and we had, like, a couple really good fights. But then it just kind of, like, I don't know, the later it went, the worse off we are. So, like, a lot of times we'll talk about how in a game, like, either we're going to win late game or we're going to win early game. And then some games you just realize, like, comp-wise, if this goes late game, our Juggernaut has nothing because he got wrecked. Their AM had an okay lane, and everything is just going up and up for him, but it's going down and down for us. And it was just not ideal. Not ideal, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
I think overall, like, I liked our lane pretty well. Like, the second we wanted to kill Quap, or to kill Lina, it just kind of happened.
Yeah. Even before the AA rotated in.
Yeah.
Like, eventually that helped, but...
Like, if you were to play, if you really wanted to, like, lane with me, I mean, if you were playing, I wouldn't really subject anyone to my Quap. I might at this point, honestly. That was, like, fun as I got into it.
Mm-hmm.
Once I actually knew the fuck I was doing. But, like, I would probably play that again. I think it was good.
Yeah, I think it's okay. I mean, we had... The silencer gave us a lot of problems. I'll put it that way. Like,
yeah,
there were a lot of problems
silencer
in
against
general.
you seemed really hard.
Yes, so we had one problem where X marks takes 2 uses. Obviously, you use it on somebody, and then you can either wait it out. I believe it's 4 seconds, and then they pop back automatically, or you can activate it and trigger it, and they'll come back when you hit it.
Yeah,
there is an animation which sucks, and it's way too long. But anyway. So what would happen, and this definitely happened at least once in bottom lane, was I would get last worded. I would X mark someone because it's the lowest mana ability I have, and it's the lowest cooldown. And then you tried to kill them because you assumed I was going to like bring them back because this was like an aggressive X. But I didn't communicate that, and then it just you died. Yeah. So silencer definitely was a big issue just in general, and especially like Curse the Silent is one of those abilities that's like really garbage sometimes and then not that bad other times. I would say there's very few instances where it's really good, but it hurt. In that, like, Kunkka does not have a lot of mana in the first place. His int scaling is pretty bad.
Sure. You're not going like arcanes or anything.
Yeah. Well, sometimes I go arcanes, but my thinking was if I go arcanes, then during a fight, I'm going to take way more damage from my anti-mage and anti-mage.
Sure.
But if I have a soul ring, that means I can get as low as I want and still have saved up like burst mana to cast.
Yeah,
spells.
that makes sense.
But either way, it was not ideal. And Kunkka, he's an okay Ghost Scepter carrier, but it wasn't that great this game because they had like the Lina and the Night Stalker would have just run me down with stun with nukes and
void or whatever.
Also, eventually I had mana. I mean, I had gold, but generally that was not the case. So I've definitely played games where I've been poorer on Kunkka, and he doesn't need a ton of stuff. Like really, once I had Soul Ring Tranquils, I was pretty okay. Like I could get my stuff off, and then once I had 4 staff, then I was like in full force. But it is what it is. I think that's just one of those games where our pub Juggernaut carry was really bad, and it's just that's just the reality of the situation, right? Your curse was in full force. I know that's like, I don't know, you losing all that MMR. I don't want that to carry over to me. I don't want to be infected.
Yeah, don't play with me again.
It's rough.
Like ever for the rest of your life.
Yeah, you need to like,
This is my fucking curse to break, man. You gotta just let me solo queue this one out.
you
We'll
know,
make it.
those like, oh my god, like a decontamination chamber.
Yeah,
You need to like go into one of those where it just like fixes you.
and like get an exorcist or something.
Yeah, that.
Just cover all of our bases here.
This is just making me think of like, remember Gorgon? I think he's talked about it in one of the recent Chart Tuesdays episodes. But I remember he went through a period where like it was like 2 months. It was some like very long period where he had like over 90% of his games were like feeders and like horrible losses, and it was just one of these like statistical anomalies where like. And I remember because I didn't believe him, and he like sent me his Dota buff for like whatever months it was. It was like June and July of 2015 or whatever, and it was just like the most sad thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah.
And hopefully you're not falling into one of those because I haven't had one recently, but I have had some losing streaks that have just like broken me mentally and emotionally, physically even, and it's just not fun. Like Dota, I don't know. I'm like a try hard in that like I have fun by winning, and I can enjoy myself in a game like that where like I played well and I was pretty happy with my own play, but like I need to win to satisfy my like enjoyment of Dota. So if I'm just losing, that's no fun. Also, like
Yeah,
numbers are important, dude. Losing
the
seven
numbers are super
MMR would
important.
break me.
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good on the mental front, honestly. Been some changes going on, but yeah, I don't know. It's like everyone's just like just have a good attitude and you win. I'm like, man, I'm a fucking beacon of positivity in these games. Like,
Yeah, what
I try pretty fucking hard, but it's just some games, man. Some games.
it's the classic thing that like people bring up is that like MMR is just your ability to win games. So uh, that means that like somebody who's positive can be a little worse. Like somebody who's a good communicator, they don't even necessarily need to be positive if they're just like a good shot caller or whatever. They can be a little worse mechanically if they're better in that regard. And then like somebody who's just a complete jerk and like flames and all that, they're still at whatever MMR. So clearly like they are probably mechanically better or whatever than people at like that comparable skill level. So everybody
It's
has
just so sad to think that everyone who rages is like better than you or whatever. But it's
yeah.
very
I mean,
sad.
I wouldn't even yeah for
I
sake
wouldn't
of my own ego. I
paint
wouldn't
it
say
with
they're
that
better.
biggest. I wouldn't paint it with that broad a stroke, but
But it
it's
is like there are a lot of things that go into winning games, and sometimes you just go on losing streaks, and sometimes you just go on winning streaks, and you never know like who is on what. You never know if that guy that's like you're like boy, I'm not sure if you're like I assume you're as big a jerk as I am, but sometimes I see people's MMR, and I'm like, there's no way that's accurate, and then like both ways, like sometimes I see people and it's like, oh, he or she is like whatever, just to throw out an arbitrary number, like oh they're like 2,800, and I'm like oh but they're like they play much better than that. And other times I see somebody and it's like oh they're like 4K or 4,500 or whatever, and I'm like boy that's not accurate. I don't know, maybe that's just me, but
yeah. I've seen so many people play so many different ways, so many times, and just I don't know. Like I see people who have clearly no understanding of how the game works, and then some people who like just blow me away at like the same MMR. Like I
hmm
don't know, someone like Last Pixel Spectrum, and there's no support, and I'm like, there's no way that you have a like that you can't have a brain in your head if that you thought that was the thing to do. But then
yeah
other people who make the perfect picks, and it's like I don't know. There's no judging anything anymore.
yeah it does a game of surprises, I guess, and that's probably a really bad way to define Dota. Actually, Dota is not a game of surprises. It's a game of calculation. But certain things are just like I'm always alarmed by, and I suppose that's with any team game, right? Like you never know who is going to be good at what, or who is normally really good at. He's normally a really good carry, but he has an off game, and so you see him on that off game, and you think he's the worst player in the world, and you're like, boy, how's that guy? Whatever MMR. And so I mean that's just the reality of it. But I don't know how we got off onto this tangent. But hopefully your winning streak or your losing streak stops and your winning streak begins. And
We're doing
now,
it tonight. It's easy.
good luck. Once I finally hand in these papers in the next day, then I can actually play exorbitant amounts of Dota, like tons of Dota, and that's my goal. I just want to get there to a point where I can just play Dota and then play Dota, and then maybe like go out with my friends for a few hours, and then come back.
Why?
And I need to meter myself because you gotta make an appearance. Come on.
I guess, man.
And then yeah, you gotta make them remember like, hey, Sam or Ursinity, whatever exists, so that they'll invite me on next time, and then I can say no because I'm like, yo, I gotta grind MMR. And
Yeah.
then, of course, you go out and rather you stay in and you lose a bunch of MMR, and then
Then you go out next time because that was probably the play.
yeah, yep, and then you realize that friends are nice. But that said, I don't know. I'll probably just still play Dota. I need, especially with the new patch coming out, I need to just fiend like a ton of games. That's my plan, and it's like not
Yeah, that's what
exactly
I
the most
did.
complicated plan.
It's working
but-
out great.
So yeah, but I play a lot of unranked, and you only play ranked pretty much.
I mean, I was fucking 1-6 yesterday.
That's rough.
Oh
That's
god, I need to stop looking at this Dota buff.
Yeah, yeah. I was on one of those like a couple months ago, and I feel your pain. I would definitely advise unranked. That's my advice to anybody that's ever on a losing streak. Is that like I go and lose. I'm one of those players that are like I don't generally go like 1-1 I'll go like 5 wins in a row, 5 losses in a row, 5 wins in a row, 5 losses in a row. And my method is just to play unranked.
Here's my take on it. I'm like at this point, like I'm actually trying to get good at Dota right now. And if I'm at a place where I'm losing games I shouldn't, like this is the opportune time to figure out like where my flaws are, because like they're definitely there, right? So if I'm losing a lot, it's not good for my MMR, but I want to play more to figure it out, like. I want my worst to be like my best is already good, like, oh man, I'm so good at my best. Well, like, guess what? When fucking it's time to play a rank, like a tournament game or whatever, you're not gonna be allowed to tell them to wait until you're at your best, like. So I want to elevate my worst play to be, as good as possible. So that's my attempt to find motivation to keep playing right now.
Huh, that makes a lot of sense. And I suppose like if you know you're playing down 700, then you can kind of play stuff that you're not as like adept with. Whereas like I know when I'm
shit
playing
mid and I'm playing mid a lot, and I'm like doing really well on tiny mid most games, even though the win rate is not there.
Yeah, so that makes a lot of sense. I know when I play ranked, I kind of feel pressured to like I play my best heroes all the time. And granted, like I have a big hero pool just because I've just been playing for a long time, so that's not like as exclusionary as maybe some other people's. So I play like maybe 30 heroes. Maybe 30 heroes are like my top, and then like another 30 would be like my mid tier, and then the lower whatever would be 50 are like the ones where I wouldn't really pick it in ranked. So I think that's just what it is. I think that's definitely a nice silver lining. I've never thought about it that way, but then again, I don't play much ranked, so when I go on a losing streak, it's just like, oh, whatever. Lost some unranked MMR, and I'd have to drop a lot to go into anything other than very high, so I'm not too worried about that.
I want to just like drop all my unranked MMR because I can like never play with any friends who are not good
It
without
sucks.
like being like, okay, you're gonna lose your lane, but I'm gonna carry. Don't worry about it. They're like, wow, fun game, thanks. I'm gonna play with you again ever. Thanks,
Yeah, I feel you there. It sucks. I've dabbled with the idea of like getting hold of like a mid 2K account just to play unranked with my friends.
Yeah,
Because it's like, but it's so rude, and like I'm not gonna actually do it because it'd be so abusive to like the other team. Not like to toot my own like ego or anything, but just numerically, it's like silly, and it'd be so unfair and not really fun for anybody.
I made a Smurf. This was like a really long time ago, and I was like, like I always played stuff that wasn't super viable just to like have fun with it and play with people and like not blow games out of the water and make it no fun for anyone but me. But like I'm playing it and I'm like, okay, like I play pretty shit on this account. It's kind of a joke account. Let's play like my calibration games and see what I get. And it's like you're 4K. Like okay, like great, thank you, Smurf.
Yeah, I have a Smurf that's for Battle Fury Invoker. But yeah, I have dozens and dozens of games of just Battle Fury Invoker, and Smurfs are a good time. But even that, like, the Dota system is good enough that like within like a dozen games, I was ranked back up into like very high unranked bracket. So even that, like, it's a Smurf in name only. Like I'm basically playing with similar people. Yeah. But gosh, yeah, I'm not a believer in Smurfing, but it is it is what it is. So I mean, hopefully I won't have to deal with dropping anymore. But any closing thoughts before I close this out and give us all the plugs?
Give me your spirit energy for this climb I'm trying to do tonight.
Yeah, you totally got it. I will be with you there in spirit. I will not be playing anymore tonight, so you can absorb any and all of my skills.
Oh,
I'll loan them
thank you.
to you basically for like the next 8 hours, 12
Okay.
hours maybe.
That's it. Yeah. I mean, I just finished school and I was pulling many all nighters, so my sleep schedule is totally fucked. I may or may not have only got up a couple hours ago.
Yeah, yeah. I've got a number of all nighters under my belt for this last week, but tonight and tomorrow are my last days of busy work. But yeah, so all right, so you can find us, of course, on Twitter. That's my preferred avenue of communication. I'm on Twitter all the time. I'm at Ursinity on Twitter. Proud is, of course, at Proud Dota.
That's
And
correct.
you can find the main .p show account at .p_show. And again, all the other hosts are generally .p_ and then their name, or some variety. You can just tweet us and ask. But I mean, we're the two hosts you got to worry about. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
All
we're
right,
fucking great.
so you can find us on Reddit, r/Defense of the Patients. That's a good place to talk as well. Nice long form, way more than 140 characters. That's my, I don't know. I like our subreddit. It's fun. It's a nice group of people. You can download the podcast anywhere you can imagine downloading a podcast, iTunes Store, our website, which is defenseofthepatients.com, etc. You can use our Amazon banner for your Christmas shopping. Not, I know I have, because why would I go out and buy presents when I can sit in my room and click two buttons and buy stuff on Amazon, right?
Right.
What else can you do? You can probably do other things.
Watch our VOD. on
Well,
YouTube.
yeah.
That's
Watch
probably
our
a good
VOD.
idea.
I plugged that earlier in the show, but we can doubly plug it. .ptv1 is our VOD. And, of course, we now have in-house nights. Thus far, they're Thursday nights around 9 p.m. EST. We say 9, but it's starting from 9 whenever it fills up. And those are streamed, of course, on our Twitch channel, .ptv. We stream very regularly there. Roland's always up on it. I come up on it pretty regularly, especially now that I have a break again. I'll be streaming more often. We've been at a Christmas theme recently. But yeah, so I think that's about it. As usual, I probably forgot one of the many plugs, but such is life. It is what it is. But yeah, so for this week, it's been our theory. But remember, it's probably your fault. Thanks for watching.